Israel's military has told DW it is opening the Erez border crossing to allow more humanitarian aid to enter through northern Gaza. The first shipment of aid to use the Erez crossing is expected to arrive directly from Jordan. Israel opened the Rafah border crossing with Egypt in November and the Kerem Shalom crossing on the southern border with Israel in December. The US and other countries have also been airdropping aid. And the US is in the process of building a floating aid pier off Gaza's Mediterranean coast. DW's Tania Krämer is near the Erez crossing in Gaza's north and sent us this update a little earlier.
Standing here not far away from the Erez crossing, that's one of the crossings that have been closed since October 7th, since the attacks. This crossing goes into northern Gaza, mainly. It's not very far away from Gaza City. Now, many countries have been pressuring Israel to allow in more aid, especially into northern Gaza, and the United Nations have said the situation there is a man-made crisis. Now, the opening of this crossing would allow trucks for aid and for commercial goods a shorter journey through dangerous territory while the war and of course air bombardment is ongoing. They could come directly from the port of Ashdod or also from Jordan through the land crossings here. But it remains to be seen how much aid will come through this crossing, how much aid will be allowed in.
Shaina is the communications advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council in Jerusalem, and she explained why the crossing needs to be open.
Well, I think what we've heard from thus far, as I know, only food aid is entering through Erez. But of course, the people in northern Gaza need all sorts of additional aid: shelter items, hygiene kits, bedding, clothes, materials to desalinize and sanitize water. All of these things need to be coming in. We have been calling for months now for additional crossings to be opening, but it's not just about getting the crossings open. It's ensuring that the aid that's needed is reaching Palestinians in the quantities that will actually make a difference and help to stem and stop the humanitarian crisis that has been ongoing for the last 7 months.
Now, practically speaking, how long will it take for aid delivered through Erez to reach the people who need it?
Well, that's unclear. It depends on a variety of things. Like I said, it's not just about opening the crossings, but it's about having the ability to safely deliver aid wherever Palestinians are. And so that means ensuring that the notification system is working so that humanitarians can access Erez and also access the places that they need in order to carry out distributions. It means that we need the materials, things as simple as trucks, to be able to go, and fuel to be able to carry out those distributions. What's desperately needed is not just a handful of trucks, which we've seen very slight increases in the number of trucks entering over the last couple of weeks, but we need a massive surge, a flood of humanitarian assistance, thousands of truckloads of goods each and every day entering Gaza.
Now let's talk about the south of the Gaza Strip. Israel has struck targets in Rafah again today. What do you know about the situation there?
The situation in Rafah remains dire. There are over 1 million Palestinians still sheltering in Rafah. A planned or expected Israeli ground offensive into Rafah would be catastrophic. There simply is no safe place in Gaza for Palestinians to flee to. There aren't services available for people: water, sanitation, hygiene services, housing and shelters to accommodate an influx of people. The situation remains dire as people are searching for everything from shelter to food to water in order to keep their family alive.
Shaina, their communications advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council in Jerusalem. Thank you. The Israeli military's confirmation comes during US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit. He is meeting with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Work continues on a ceasefire in Gaza, as well as a deal to release the hostages that are still being held by Hamas and the flow of aid into the war-torn region. It is Blinken's 7th diplomatic visit to the Middle East since Israel's military response to the Hamas terror attacks in October last year. For more, let's bring in DW correspondent Rebecca Ritters, who joins us from Jerusalem. Rebecca, what can you tell us about this meeting between Blinken and Netanyahu?
Well, these meetings tend to be closed door. There was no press conference following the meeting, but stuff that we are starting to hear come out of it, Gerhard, is that Netanyahu told Blinken that he wouldn't accept any ceasefire deal where Hamas maintain the demand for a permanent ceasefire. He said that that is something that he wouldn't agree to, and if they stuck by that demand, then the deal would be off and the Israeli military would march on into Rafah, that southern city. Now, Blinken reiterated the US position. He said that the US do not think that that is the best way forward, that they do not agree that a ground offensive in Rafah is necessary and that it would be better handled by more targeted attacks. Blinken's certainly here to push for a ceasefire deal. That's certainly one of the things that is really topping his agenda in this whole Middle East tour that he's making. As you mentioned, the 7th since October 7. The ceasefire was the predominant thing that we're hearing coming out of the meeting that the two men discussed. Blinken also praised Israel for allowing more humanitarian aid to come through, but he said more still needs to be done. I mean, it's probably no coincidence that this Erez crossing is due to open today on the day that Blinken visits, given the pressure that the US has put on for for Israel to get more aid into Gaza.
Now, Blinken has also met with the families of the hostages. What did he have to say to them?
Well, that's also another really standard thing. As I said, 7th visit, and each time that Blinken has come, he's met with families of the hostages, and you can imagine the kinds of things that he's telling them, offering them any kind of hope or wisdom that he can, saying that the US is fully supporting and behind and putting pressure on for a ceasefire deal, that he hopes that every single one of their loved ones will return home. He in fact said that the US won't rest until every man, woman, soldier, civilian, young or old is returned and back with their families. But one man who does have family in Gaza said that Blinken was very honest when he spoke to them. He spoke to media afterwards and said that Blinken said he was very honest, saying that they have little power to put pressure on a ceasefire deal. So, very limited with what he can tell these families, but certainly trying to offer them some hope.
DW correspondent Rebecca Ritters there reporting from Jerusalem. Thank you, Rebecca.